Okay, welcome back. So it's worth thinking about what we want our blog class to do. So leaving this leaving that out, see what would we want to be able to do with our blog. So I think being able to do something like blog equals blog, and then giving it, say, the author equals Jose, the title of the blog equals sample title, or any other title that we want, a description probably, and that's probably enough, I'd guess, for a blog. And then be able to say blog.newPost. That would be what I would want to be able to do with a blog, and then probably save to Mongo, probably be able to do something like blog from Mongo as well. So these are the sort of things that I would probably be wanting to be able to do with a blog. So it's going to have an author, title, description, and a few actions that it can do. Create a new post, save itself to Mongo, get a new one from Mongo, maybe blog.getPosts. This is equivalent to post from blog ID. So a few things that would be interesting to be able to do. So let's go into our models, create a new Python file, call it blog, and then let's start making our blog class here. So def init is going to be our first method, and it's going to have, as we decided, author, title, and description. And is it going to have any variables that are default, that have default values? So probably yes. It's probably going to have an ID that is going to default to none, and then it's going to get generated just like the post one. And it is also probably going to have a list of posts that it contains. I'm not entirely sure on this one, so we're going to leave it out for now and see if we do end up needing it or not. So we're just going to put these things in. And then self ID equals UUID UID4.hex if ID is none, else ID. Just like the post one, we'll have to import UID again, of course. Okay, and then let's have a look at the other methods. New post, save to Mongo, from Mongo, and get posts. New post. Pass, remember, is just do nothing for now. Get posts, save to Mongo, and the save to Mongo is probably going to use a JSON method as we created for the post, same thing, and then get from Mongo. And in fact, in order to do this, I'm also going to introduce a new thing, which is not a static method or an instance method. It is a class method, and we're going to introduce that in just a few moments. The new post method, what it should do is it should ask the user to write the new post. So we're going to use the input method that we looked at in the first section. Content equals input, enter post content, and title equals input, enter post title. And then we're going to say date equals input, enter post date, or leave blank for today. And then we're going to say post equals post self.id. This is the blog ID. And remember, self.id, we're currently inside a blog object when we talk about self.id and not in a post object. So self.id would be the ID of the blog that this post is being created in. And then the other variables would be title, content, author. Title equals title, content equals content, date equals date, and that's it. The other two the other one is not really necessary, the ID, it gets generated automatically, and we'll have to import this post. And then we see blog ID, title, content, author, and I forgot that one. Author equals self.author. Remember, self.author, the author of the blog, is also the author of the post that he or she is writing. Now, one thing to remember is the date here in the post is a datetime object. Here, when we're writing it in, it will be a string. So we need a way to be able to parse the thing that the user is writing and then be able to convert that into a datetime object. So an option is to say in format DTMMYY. So we say, please write in format like 06/10/1990, for example. And that would then allow us to format the date properly. And in order to do that, we would say import datetime here at the top. And instead of date equals date, it would be datetime strp time date dmy. Okay, so this may be a bit confusing, but let me explain exactly what this does. Datetime module contains a class called datetime, and this class contains a number of methods to deal with dates. One of those methods is the strp time method, which is the string parse time. And what that does is it allows us to give it a string, which is the dates that the user has entered, and then it allows us to give it a format string. So the %d, %m, %Y says that we're expecting 2 digits for the day, 2 digits for the month, and 4 digits for the year. So in that case, we would have to tell the user to give us 4 Ys up there as well. Okay, and that would allow us to parse the date time there. And now we've created this post, but of course we have to save it to MongoDB. And there we are. Now we've got the new post already written. The getPosts method, what it will do is essentially the same as the fromBlog method here earlier. So what it will call is post.fromBlog self.id, and then it would return that. And that would simply get all of the posts that have the current blog's ID as an ID. The save to Mongo, we can simply go back to the post and get the save to Mongo and copy that. Instead of posts, now it's going to be blogs as the collection, and import the database as well. And then the self.json is also going to be a Python dictionary that has the author, title, description, and ID. So author, self-author, title, self-title, description, self-description, ID, self.id. And that is everything that we need to save in MongoDB there. Finally, the get from Mongo will also be fairly simple. Blog data is going to be database.find1, collection equals blogs, as we know, and query equals ID is self.id. Of course, when we're getting a blog from Mongo, we're not going to have access to self, because we're going to get the blog in order to be able to create an object. We're not going to have the object already created. So we're not going to have access to self, which means we have to remove that, remove self, and instead pass the ID that we're looking for as a parameter here. However, Python now expects self to be there, so we have to say static method. The problem with static method is that now the only thing we can do is return blog data. And blog data may be what we want to return. It will return essentially an author, a title, a description, and an ID. However, the blog data is only this. We won't be able to call getPosts on the blog data. So what we want to do instead is return an object of type blog instead of just the data. So what we want to do is create a blog with this blog data. So what we'll do is we'll say author, title, description, and ID. Author equals author. Well, blog data author. Title equals blog data title. Description equals blog data description. And ID equals blog data ID. Okay, so what this will do is it'll say this author is equal to blog data author, and so on, until we return an object of type blog. And now on this object we could do get from Mongo, get posts, new post, etc. So this is kind of makes sense, but there is a way in which we can simplify this substantially. If instead of static method we use class method, now Python will expect CLS to be there at the front, and this CLS, what it is blog. It's exactly the same thing, so we can essentially substitute one for the other. So no big changes there. So CLS returns the current class, and that is essentially used so that if we change the class name later on, we don't have to go to this method and change the class name there as well. Simplifies things, reduces the work needing to be done later on. So we could go to our post and do the same thing when we do from Mongo. Instead of returning the post data, what we could return is an object of type post. So add class method, CLS there, and then say CLS, well, post data equals, and then return CLS of the post data. Blog ID equals post data blog ID. Title equals post data title, and so on. There you go. This would be how we would be doing it in this case. So it does seem a bit more cumbersome to do this, but do remember that now we don't end up with some data being returned. Instead, we end up with an object being returned. So we can get from Mongo and then do something like change one of the properties, save it to Mongo again very easily. And with a blog, we can get the object back and then get the posts from it very easily. We don't need to perform multiple queries. We don't need to get the data and then call the post.get from blog method or things like that. So this simplifies the flow a bit. And this is the whole point where we've got objects, is to be able to use them. So this is the class method, and this is our blog class as well. So now we're going to be, in the next video, looking at whether this all works and how we can use it. And then finally, we'll move on to our user menu, where we're going to be interacting with the user. So I'll see you in the next video.